Alright guys, welcome back to another video. So, in this video what I want to do is answer the questions that you guys gave me from my Q&A video. This video is going to be a little bit different. I'm going to post the questions on the screen as I go through them, but I'm just going to do a voiceover with them. So first I want to thank everyone for asking the questions you did, and I'm going to start off with the question from 302 Exotics. If you were a fish, what kind of fish would you be? Not keeping it just a tropical fish. If I had to choose, I would have to say a shark, because sharks are pretty badass, and they pretty much rule the ocean. So why not go for one of the biggest fish out there that dominate all the others, if you want to say that. Next question is by AGR414. What's a fish you wish you could keep but can't due to size restrictions and costs? A fish I really want to keep is stingrays. I love stingrays, but they require huge tanks. Joey Mullen, also known as the King of DIY, had the Leopoldi stingrays, and ever since I started watching his videos I fell in love with those, and that's actually a fish I would love to keep in the future. Nowhere close to the near future, but definitely like maybe 10-20 years down the road when I all settle down, have my own fish room and all that. AGR414 also asks, what's your dream tank setup? Right now I only have 3 tanks, 2 of them which are divided, but in the future what I want to do is have a rack system with it's hard to describe, but what I would like to do is have 4 40-gallon breeders on one rack, and then on the other rack have numerous 10-gallon tanks where I could be more selective in breeding my fish. So that rack would probably have around like 20 10-gallon breeders and 10-gallon breeders. Well, yeah, they're bees as breeders. So yeah, you could call them 10-gallon breeder tanks. Did I say 20? I'm confusing myself now. But the way it would be is those 10-gallon tanks would be where I would put the fish I want to selectively breed. And then the 40-gallon breeder tanks would be the grow-out tanks for those fish. So I could breed up to 4 strains at a time, be it guppies, plecos, whatever I have at that time. But that's the setup I would like to have. Next one comes from Aquarium Boy 123. Why did you start YouTube? I've always been part of YouTube. I've not actually had my own channel, but I've always been on YouTube watching other YouTubers, and I wanted to be part of that. I wanted to add more to my aquarium keeping hobby. So instead of just having my fish tanks and being something I enjoyed, I wanted to share it with other viewers. So now you guys can watch the videos, watch the day-to-day actions or weekly actions that I take in my fish room. Watch me learn more about my own fish, projects I do, and hopefully I could teach you guys something at the same time. So it became like an expansion of my hobby, and not gonna lie, it actually becomes more rewarding this way. Having the input from you guys, either be it constructive criticism, compliments, comments, all that stuff, I take into account and use it to better myself, to better my channel, and to better my fish room. Next one is by Aquatsi. Correct me if I ever say your names wrong on here. Asks, I'll start it off with a question. Who or what inspired you to begin fish keeping, and what was the first fish species you kept? Those guppies are beautiful, by the way, and thank you. That's one of my favorite fish I have at the moment. So what inspired me to begin fish keeping? It's actually a really long story. So when I was 17, I was working at a doctor's office, which wasn't the best of conditions. I was given $50 by a patient during the holidays. What I wanted to do was, what I did was actually, I went out and bought a microwave for the doctor's office, which my manager at the time wasn't happy about it. She didn't want a microwave there, so the nurses and we couldn't even heat up our foods. So she made me return it. I bought it at Walmart, so I returned it there, which at that point, I wasn't expecting to have to return it, so I received a gift card since I didn't have a receipt. Being a 17-year-old, I didn't buy much of anything, so I didn't know what to do with those $50, but as I was walking by, I started getting, I looked at an aquarium, so yes, it was an impulse buy. I bought a 10 gallon, which I currently still have, and I did what most fish keepers do, most impulse fish keepers do. I started loading it up with fish without even doing any research. Yes, I was guilty of that. I threw in, what were they called? Glow light tetras. What else did I have? Zebra danios. I believe some shrimp. So the total in that tank, when I first set it up, I think I was pushing about 20 fish in there without cycling it. Big mistake there. It failed, so I started doing research, and what I learned a lot from joining fishlore.com. I learned a lot through those forums, learned the whole nitrogen process, the nitrogen cycle, letting your tank cycle, fish you should keep together, fish you shouldn't keep together. And after I did all that research, I moved into your typical pet store guppies. So those were the fish I started off with, and that was 17. What am I now? I'm going to be 24 next week. So 7 years ago. Next question comes from Devilish Beta. In your opinion, what type of fish are the hardest to breed, take care of, grow, or sell in the market? Are they betas, guppies, mollies, cichlids, or neon tetras? I only have experience with a few of these, but I did try breeding beta fish, and I have to say, it wasn't so much that it was hard, but it was one of the most difficult because you have to have so many separate tanks. You have to have its own tank for each of the males. You will have to have your own tank for the females. So you always have to keep those fish separate. And if you don't have the room for that, it doesn't really work out. So at that time I had one male, one female. I bred them together and got a lot of fry. Once those fry started growing, I started running out of room. I either had to sell them, which there wasn't that much demand for them, keep them together, which it worked for a little while until it started getting aggressive. So I think that was the most difficult to do. Electric water. Very first fish I started with was guppies. Have you ever kept cichlids? If not, could you see yourself doing it in the future? Actually, I did keep cichlids. At one point, I did have shell dwellers. I love the small size. Most of the fish I keep is small size due for size restrictions. So my tanks are usually 10, 5, and 30 gallons, so I can't keep very large fish. So I had shell dwellers at one point, and I really love those guys, but they bred me out. They bred so much I ran out of room for them, and sold most of them off because I was getting overwhelmed with the amount of fry they constantly kept pumping out. And yes, I could see myself keeping cichlids in the future again. Fish Tanker Man 123. Why do you prefer small, peaceful community fish? Again, what I just said. My tanks are all pretty small, so I like to keep smaller species, usually 1 to 2 inches in adult size. Right now I do have the Ancestress, but they're moving outside. It's going to be a whole different change to the channel, but I prefer smaller species just because of the room restrictions I have. So as my fish room eventually grows in the future, I would like to keep larger fish. And Glenn Hawkins. What are future plans and goals for the rest of 2016 year? So, there's a couple plans I've been messing around with. The first one's the outside ponds, which are 700 gallons total. And I also want to create a fry rack system in the room, which I'm right now still messing around with the plans. And this is actually a sneak peek of what that will be. So those are some bigger projects I want to get for 2016. I also want to expand my channel. My goal by the end of 2016 is to have 1,000 subscribers, which I'm 1/5 the way there. And with the help of all you guys, I've actually grown pretty quickly. And I also want to continue to educate others, help others as much as I can with my material, and learn from you guys at the same time. Calum Holmes, how long have you been in the hobby for? Mentioned before, I've been keeping fish since I was 17, so it's been about 7 years now. Neon Tetra Aquarist. What is your favorite fish and why? I don't know if I have one favorite. I do like a lot. Usually the fish I go for are usually like rare, higher value fish, so I don't have many of them. I love fancy show guppies. Stingrays, would love to have those. And what else? Clownfish, those are definitely one of my top ones, but I don't keep saltwater. Maybe in the future I'd probably try that, but freshwater wise, those would be it. Like freshwater stingrays, show guppies. Zebra plecos. I'd love to have the L046 zebra plecos. They're one of my favorites, but they're extremely expensive. They usually go about from $300 to $600 a piece. Also another fish I'd love to have in the future. Psychedelic Babe. What's the most amount of tanks you've had at one time, and what was your first fish that you bought and why? For the first half of your question, the most I've ever had is actually what I currently have now. There's 3 actual physical tanks, 2 of which are divided, so I consider that 5 tanks. For the longest time, I only had the 10-gallon, a 5-gallon, and a 2.5. Actually, I just lied. I do have 4 tanks. I have one that set downstairs as well. So yeah, that's what I had those. So right now I have the 30, the 10-gallon divided, the 5-gallon divided, and another 5-gallon downstairs, which is usually just a holding tank for either quarantine, or if I don't want to keep fish up here, I'll put those down there before they get moved. And the first fish that I bought was the zebra danios. So the glow light tetras, the glowfish, and the zebra danios were the first fish I've ever bought. Alright, and that concludes all the questions that I received. I hope all my answers were to your standards. I know this video got very long, but I want to make sure I answered everyone's questions. So, with that said, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And until next time, guys.